Hello, I'm Elizabeth Jong. I'm Director of UK Policy at the FTA. And for the next few minutes, I'm going to be speaking about FTA's approach to thinking about the future. FTA is a business group. It's the biggest logistics trade association. We have 18,000 members representing around half of the UK's lorry fleet and people who can sign about 90% of freight by rail and 70% by sea or air. And the core reason we exist is to support, shape and stand up for safe and efficient logistics. We're experts in the field of policy and advice and working with governments and stakeholders to influence how the industry is able to do business. And we approach our work from 3 points of view. From our members' points of view, where our job is to help them navigate a rapidly changing future. For government's point of view, where our job is to help them land their policies in the best possible way for the UK economy and also the logistics industry, which is the backbone of that economy. And we're also a multimodal organisation representing all modes of transport and each part of the supply chain. So we have no vested interests of our own and a different perspective to offer. We spend most of our working lives thinking about the future. And most recently, we've been thinking about that longer-term future, working with many government transport strategies, looking ahead to about 2050. We're standing at the point of massive change to our industry, wondering if it will lead to utopia or dystopia. At times, the future can seem scary. There are so many disparate projects looking at aspects of future logistics. Here are some behind me. Which ones will succeed? Will the right projects succeed? Or just the shiny, space-agey ones that sound good in a government announcement? Will they be supported with business cases and incentives to help organisations create their own business cases to deliver? Or will the future be a brutal one of bans and fines which only the biggest companies can survive? FTA's biggest desire is to see some form of order to the future of logistics. Companies, organisations, our economy needs predictability in order to flourish and deliver. To get this order, we need to know where we are heading. What does logistics need to deliver in 2020, 2030, 2040, 2050? What are our ambitions for the industry we work in? And it's only when we know what we want that we can even attempt to make some coherence of all the current trials and possibilities to form that coherent system and that roadmap that we're searching for. So where should we be heading? How would it be if we got it all right? The ideal won't be possible in all forms, but unless we define it, we can't get as close to it as possible. Our proposal may surprise you. It's not science fiction, but it reflects rather enduring human needs and economic behaviours. We need our industry to be both flexible and resilient. Satisfying customer demand is the lifeblood of the logistics industry, but what is demanded of us will change in ways that we can only guess at the moment. So we need to build a system at every level that can adapt to the changing needs of society, consumption, manufacturing, production, and trading. And we need to invest to do this, and with margins at 2%, that's very difficult. We need our industry to have its value recognised. Logistics should be seen as a high-quality system, adding value to the British economy. It's only by increasing standards, delivering great experiences, that we can promoting a positive reputation that will be able to attract the right talent to the industry to secure its future. And our industry needs to achieve optimal efficiency. Today, our industry already strives for maximum efficiency, but we'll need to use every available tool to unlock every last inch of possible efficiency. There won't be a magic wand suddenly giving us more energy or more road space. So whatever the technological improvements, efficiency is absolutely vital. And this is my biggest fear about the future. Zero negativities. There'll always be some externalities with the logistics. We'll always need space, we'll always need power, but near zero deaths and injuries from freight movements, zero atmospheric emissions, they could be possible. So they're important as a statement of direction of travel and ambition. So, FTA wants to see our discussions about the future to be grounded in common sense, and for decision makers to be asking, does this policy or new technology deliver an industry which is flexible and resilient, recognising its value, optimal in its efficiencies, and produces zero negativities? So now we know where we're heading, how we're going to get there. So we think of the future in terms of 4 building blocks intended to capture all elements of the logistics supply chain from a policy perspective. All of these overlap and interact, but each will be driven by a separate policy agenda: infrastructure, vehicles, people, and whole system policies. Today, though, the question we've been set is about infrastructure, and particularly roads. What are the major opportunities, priorities, blockers, and enablers? And I'm putting forward 4 for us to consider: driver facilities, congestion, how to enable private sector investment, and how the government will fund the future. Driver facilities. In many ways, I can't believe that this needs to be on the list in 2019, and I hope that we can achieve breakthrough on this very soon. We cannot deliver any wonderful future possibilities if we do not end working practices which belong in the Victorian age. Our country has passed laws for good reasons, saying that lorry drivers need to rest between 9 and 11 hours every 24 hours. But yet we provide 1,400 too few HGV parking spaces. And therefore, society accepts that each night 1,400 people will be parked up in lay-bys and going to the loo in a bush. How can we attract the best to the industry, which is valued in this way? Highways England are doing a great deal of good work identifying spots where that parking issue's need is greatest. But we need planning authorities to insist that parking is delivered as a routine and essential part of our infrastructure. In May last year, the government promised to provide more parking spaces, and we really need to make sure that those are delivered before we can even take a step into the future. Congestion. Keeping a relentless focus on congestion hits at least 2 of our desires for the future: increasing efficiency and heading towards zero externalities. And I'd like to think that we can achieve progress here in the shorter term too. Every minute of congestion costs HGV operators £1 in reduced driver time and poorer vehicle utilisation. And congestion is also terrible for the environment. A lorry stopping 3 times in a mile and then backing up to speed uses 3 times as much fuel and therefore as one that just cruises, and therefore 3 times as much the cost, 3 times as much carbon, 3 times the local pollutants. So there's a number of actions we need to put into place for congestion. Continuing to focus funds on innovations on those bottlenecks, many of which are around our ports or other multimodal interchanges, and also in our cities. We need to accept a politically unacceptable truth that big might be best after all. It's been very much in vogue recently to seek to find a silver bullet way into our future. And for a while, this was the e-cargo bikes. We're perhaps seeing that with drones as well. But as this picture shows, bigger vehicles play a huge role in reducing congestion. And also, as the longer semi-trailer trial shows, Fewer, larger vehicles have a positive impact on the environment. So our plea is for planners and decision makers to start to love big things in the same way as that they love the bus over the private car. And our third area for congestion is continue to develop tools which use data to make the best use of our infrastructure. If traffic patterns can be predicted, this would deliver a step change in efficiency through better traffic management and utilisation of infrastructure. How to enable private sector investment. Although some government spending will be required to fund the future, if the right signals are created, then much of the future could be funded by the private sector. Whilst there are business cases to reduce fuel efficiency and make some reduction in carbon, most logistics operations who are trialling new vehicles or new forms of alternative fuels are those which have a CSR budget. And these are the larger operations whose boards can find the funds to devote to projects they see as enhancing their reputation. So an important role for government is to make sure that there are business cases available for all operators, or at least most operators, to allow those earning average or below average margins of 2% to also invest and play their parts in improving emissions and helping government meet those targets. But in order for commercial organisations to invest, they also need certainty. If we want manufacturers to invest billions of pounds developing new types of models, then they need to be certain that the goalposts for what's going to be legally admissible on our road infrastructure will not change over the lifetime of that investment. So to unlock that, we need something we've been waiting for a while. It needs a definition of what an ultra-low emission truck looks like. And this is still currently delayed work in progress. And industry and private sector also needs time to plan, and this one has been one of the biggest frustrations to the recent clean air zones. We understand why, but those short timescales for commercial organisations really add significant additional costs. So we want legislation and timescales to be planned around the lifetime of depreciation of vehicles or other investments, and that will help the second-hand market also to flourish for small operators wanting to change their mode of operations. And finally, we need to help government to unlock their own funding, which they will be required to give. We know that freight is significantly undervalued in government appraisal methodology, being tied to the value of time for a driver rather than the value of the consignment. We know logistics is vital to the economy. We know it provides £124 billion of GVA. So we need a better appraisal methodology to allow the right investments to be made to benefit freight and the economy. And as we move from petrol and diesel fuels, an important source of government funding, fuel duty could potentially be lost. FTAs are open to the idea that a more comprehensive form of road pricing may be necessary or even desirable. We'd want it to be used as a replacement for fuel duty as alternative fuels come in, rather than an additional charge on top of existing taxes. And we'd want it to be applied to all vehicles, not just heavy duty or commercial vehicles. The main benefit of road pricing is the impact it has on road space. We know from our experiences in London that it will be changes in private car use that bring the main benefits. So, to sum up, 4 things for us to prioritise: driver facilities, congestion, how to enable private sector investment, and how to unlock funding for the government. Thank you.